Wow, what a day! After 8 days of tracking the DEXI Bond through some pretty serious ups and downs, the story has officially come full circle. We are talking a complete recovery. And honestly, it tells us so much about how the system is actually built to handle the pressure. This is the story of day 8. But first, before we dive into all the good stuff, you know the drill, our standard but super important reminder, this is all for educational purposes. It is not financial advice. DeFi is risky, you guys, so please always do your own research. So, what's the big deal about this number? 0%. After a week that saw the ratio dip all the way down to -6%, how could 0 possibly be the most exciting number on the screen? Well, it's because it means the journey is complete. It's the finish line. Okay, let's really get into this. That's 0%. It represents a perfect round trip. The DEXFI Bonds ratio after weathering that storm is officially back to its starting point. The whole 8-day cycle is done, and we've seen the system's resilience proven in real time. And here it is, the headline for day 8. The ratio is sitting at 0.0250 ETH. That is precisely where it was on day 1. This is way more than just a recovery. It's a full reset back to the starting line. The entire dip has been totally erased, which is a huge milestone for the health of this bond. Let's just trace this thing's little hero's journey, right? It started at a baseline of 0.0250. Then it went on this 5-day descent, hitting rock bottom at -6%. But then, the turnaround. Day 6 kicked off this powerful snapback. And today, on day 8, it climbed that final hill to come right back home. A perfect closed loop. But listen, if you think the story ends with the ratio hitting 0, you are missing the absolute best part of this whole thing. Because while the ratio was on that wild roller coaster, another, much more important metric was on a much quieter and way more profitable journey. Now this slide right here is what's so fascinating. It shows this incredible contrast. Over the very same 8-day period that the ratio went down and came all the way back up for a net change of 0, the underlying fund that backs these bonds actually grew by 3.6%. This is the system's secret engine, and it is working exactly as it was designed to. And that growth, it pushed the fund to a new 8-day high of over $1.84 million. Just let that sink in for a second. While the most visible number, the ratio, was in the red for most of the week, the actual value of the assets backing the whole thing was consistently climbing. This is not luck. It is by design. So you're probably asking, how is this even possible? Well, the mechanism is called fee compounding. The system takes half of all the trading fees and uses them to constantly buy assets, which lowers the fund's overall cost basis. It creates this constant positive pressure, like a growth tailwind that works no matter what the ratio is doing day to day. Okay, so we know the fund was growing in the background, which is awesome. But what about the main event? What was the fuel for the ratio's incredible snapback that let it climb out of that 6% hole and get back to baseline? You know, the answer is beautifully simple. The altcoins inside the fund's liquidity pools just flat out outperformed ETH. We have to remember the ratio isn't measuring raw dollar value. It's the fund's value measured against Ethereum. So when the alts rally harder than ETH, the ratio has to climb. And that is exactly what we saw happen. And this table just brilliantly shows that dynamic in action. Look at the volume rotation over the weekend. KTA, which was the big leader before, cooled off big time. But that money didn't just vanish. It rotated. Zora surged 64% to take the #1 spot. And look at BNKR. It exploded over 230%. This isn't a sign of weakness. This is healthy rotation. It shows a diverse and resilient market inside the system. All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture. This 8-day cycle wasn't just some random market event. It was a live stress test for the entire DEXFI Bond system. And you know what? The system passed with flying colors. It proved that its core mechanics are working exactly as they're supposed to. So here's the crucial point. If you take away just one thing from this explainer, let it be this fact. After 8 days of some pretty intense volatility, the ratio is flat, but the fund is up 3.6%. That single sentence, that captures the entire value proposition of this whole system. So this whole cycle really gave us 4 key proofs. Number 1, the ratio is a direct reflection of altcoin performance versus ETH. 2,
that fee compounding provides a really powerful growth cushion that helps the fund during volatility. 3. The drop in the ratio was what we call a divergent loss, a temporary price swing, not a permanent loss of assets. And 4. It proved that for this system, patience was absolutely the right strategy.
All of this brings us to our final verdict for day 8, a solid green, healthy. This is the third straight day of a healthy rating, cemented by that full ratio recovery and the fund's value hitting a new high for this cycle. The system is just firing on all cylinders.
And so, this leaves us with a really fascinating question. As we move forward, the system has now been tested out in the wild. It's gone through a full cycle of decline and recovery, and it proved its resilience under pressure. So the big question is, what happens next? Where does this journey go from here? We will definitely be here to track it. But as always, please remember this analysis is just for educational purposes. Past performance, even a recovery as impressive as this one, is absolutely no guarantee of future results. Always, always do your own research.